We're talking Child's Play today on Gene and Roger Talk Movies.
Chucky.
And Gene, is this the first killer doll movie we've done in our 82 some odd episodes?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I don't remember any other killer dolls. We did stop motion, which was, I love that movie. And that's stop motion animation characters. And the stop motion is a little animatronic figurine. But I think that's
kind
the
of a
closest.
minor part, yeah. Because it's weird, because of course there's a whole subgenre of killer doll movies.
Yes, well, we did Annabelle, of course.
No, we didn't. We did The Conjuring, and Annabelle was kind of in that for a minute.
Right.
Yeah. And Annabelle's actually my least favorite killer doll movie because Annabelle doesn't do stuff. And one of the benefits of really awesome killer doll movies is when the killer doll's doing stuff.
Oh, and with this movie, the killer doll, Chucky, is definitely doing stuff.
Right. So it came out in 1988.
88.
Saw this in the theater, of course, when it first came out.
Here up in Anchorage? Is at some ridiculous theater,
No,
which is
I was-
now a piece of rubble?
I was actually in Boise, Idaho. of
Oh,
all places,
Idaho.
watching
The
this.
College of Idaho.
Dragged
Nice.
a bunch of my stupid college friends who weren't into horror. It's like, hey, we should see this.
Chucky.
And of course, terrified them all. But Gene,
But were they scared during that
Well,
time?
'cause
They
you-
were college. Well,
but when
it's
people
a
don't,
different era, though.
and when people don't see a lot of horror films, right? Anything out of the norm will scare them. We should do the Funhouse at some point because when I saw that in the theater, I was with a couple people that hadn't seen it, and one of the girls was crying during the movie. Right. So we should probably do that
Dear
at some
Lord.
point. But anyway, Gene, where are you at with Child's Play?
A Child's Play. It's horror comedy for sure. It's a doll that walks around, and there are some scenes where Chucky's little hand is reaching around stuff, so you just see his little hand. And I watched this with my wife, who is not really a horror fan, and then my 14-year-old too. And it's like, and then she commented, "Oh, his hand is so cute," and it's just funny. Yeah. So but I can appreciate the director's really trying to thread the line between like legit horror and horror comedy, and he plays with both sides for sure. But this movie is, again, I watched this with family members, and we all walked away from this thing just wildly entertained. And of course, it was made for sequels.
Oh, yeah.
The ending is all about the sequel, and of course, they made Chucky part to 6.
I think they're up to maybe 7 or 8 at this point, and then they also have the TV series currently in like year 3, I think, or something.
Yeah,
like
the
that.
TV. So it's spawned a lot of like spin-offs, but it's this movie. I don't know. I can't attest to the other ones, except for I did see Bride of Chucky.
That is the best one in my
which,
opinion.
Which I thought was not terrible. It didn't suck. So I would recommend, if you're any, like I've said this before, but if you're any kind of horror fan, or this is really, I think, just a movie for anybody, because it doesn't have big scares. This movie could have gone much more on the horror, but it doesn't. So it's like you can almost feel and see the director pulling back a little bit, trying to, again, just stay between, keep the movie light. But the movie, again, like I said, is wildly entertaining. It's just fun. Yeah, definitely watch it. I'd give this movie a recommendation for sure.
I love that because I'm always worried when I'm showing Gene 80s movies and
1988
that he'll hate them. Most recently being The Blob, and then of course there was
piece of garbage.
Life Force that he refused to even talk about. But the thing I really like about this too is the really slight subplot there of the commercialization of children. Because in the 80s, if you remember, Gene, there was the whole big thing where, there's all these Saturday morning cartoons, but their entire purpose is just to sell toys and cereal and shirts to children. And they kind of touch on that very briefly at the beginning there where they have the little cartoon show, but it's all about, no, you want to buy this, you want to have this, and they have a little show, and hey, you can now get me, you can buy me, and all this stuff. And of course, the kid desperately wants a good guy doll.
Right.
And the mother is recently widowed, I guess, or somewhere.
I thought divorced.
No, it was made pretty clear that the father had passed away, but
Maybe it's Chucky.
She's struggling, right? She's struggling. Obviously, she works at some retail job.
J.C. Penney jewelry kind
Kinda
of looks like to
thing,
me,
yeah.
and her boss is a complete, one of those guys.
And so I just love the
Patriarchal.
fact that the movie is also taking a riff off of like Gremlins, because this dude, if this crazy dude in the alleyway has a good guy doll, and the
Yeah,
friend
she
of the-
can't afford the price. She can't go to the toy store and afford the good guy doll
$100.
at regular price. So she buys the good guy doll stolen in a dark alley from some homeless guy. For like what, $30, wasn't it?
Right.
was
And it
like
was
cash.
And so in the
No
beginning, right, there's this crazy serial killer guy. His name's Charles Lee Ray, played by Brad Dourif.
Yeah, and Brad Dourif, I looked him up because I was like, I know that guy.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that was Wormtongue from from The Lord of the Rings.
Well, and
The Twin Towers.
he's been, I mean, he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and all sorts of other things. So, well-known actor,
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
player usually, and of course has been attached to Chucky since this movie. So in every
Did he appear in other Chuckies?
all of them, he's always
He's in all the
yeah,
Chuckies.
because he's the
Are you
voice.
serious?
He's the voice of Chucky, and so he's in all of them.
The voice of Chucky.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be like your epitaph?
Well, it probably will
I
be.
was the voice of Chucky.
It probably will be, but the whole premise is he's this serial killer, but he's also got some voodoo connections, and so he gets,
He has a shaman he sees.
so he gets all shot up, and the only thing he can transfer his soul into is this good guy doll. For reasons unknown, the entire toy store explodes.
Well,
and-
there's when the spell goes into effect. Of course, there's lightning all over. The lightning goes into the toy store, explodes.
Right, and so that's where this homeless guy ended up looting that burned out store, and
Yeah, and he
he's got
finds
that.
and he finds the one doll that's not destroyed.
Right, and they try to play a little tiny bit early on with, what is his name? Alex? Is it Alex Vincent? What's the kid's name? Andy Barclay, right? Played by the Vincent guy.
Yeah, Andy, very good, Andy
But
Barclay.
they do a little
But
tiny
his real
bit.
name is Alex. Yeah.
Right. A little bit of, is the doll really evil, or is the kid causing some trouble because this woman babysitter takes a dive out the window.
Yeah, well, Chucky comes to life and hits her in the head with a hammer.
Right.
But that's where we really see the director pulling back, because that could have been like really graphic right there, but it's not, because Chucky hits her, and you don't really see anything, and then she stumbles backwards. Of course, she's in terrible shock, and she falls out the third-story window.
Right, but right during that whole opening sequence there with that, it was almost like the director was, well, I'm going to try to, is it the little kid who's now maybe possessed by Charles Lee Ray, or is it actually the doll? Because they kind of, because they have the kid dressed as a good guy uniform. He's got his little good guy
Yeah, he wants to dress
suit
like
on.
this doll. Yeah, yeah.
And so, but very quickly after that, it becomes very apparent that no, it's Chucky is the killer.
Well,
doll.
as an audience member, right off the bat, it's Chucky.
Right.
Because it's revealed to us. It's not like one of those movies where we as the viewer are the same as the characters. We're like, we both don't know. No, in this movie, we know. It's the characters don't know. And so I think it's an obvious plot line is that, the adults, of course, are not going to believe it's
Right.
the doll's alive. Are you kidding me? It's this ludicrous idea. So it takes some time for them to, there has to be evidence and the evidence rapidly becomes available.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a major detective in this.
It's Chris Sarandon, who actually we remember from The Sentinel and, of course, Fright Night. So he's dabbled in horror quite a bit.
Yeah, you remember. I haven't seen those movies.
You have not seen Fright Night?
No, I've not seen Fright Night. No.
Oh, my gosh. And The
Maybe
Sentinel...
review it next week.
The Sentinel actually is a really interesting film that that was on my list at one point that I sent to you saying, hey, we could do one of these three, and you picked one that was not that. But that might be
I
a
picked
movie.
one that wasn't one of
wasn't
the
the Sentinel, yeah. So, but anyway, so he plays this cop, and I do love.
Yeah, who shoots the serial killer at the end. The movie starts really well because there's some kind of robbery or something. The detective is chasing this serial killer, and there's a gunfight in the streets and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, and so the serial killer's running to the getaway car, but then the killer gets shot and then the getaway driver gets scared and runs off.
Yeah, he takes off, and
Yeah, and so there's Chucky has to get him.
right, Chucky swears his vengeance.
Swears his vengeance,
You know,
yes.
and of course he's got to kill that guy, and then he's got to try to kill the police officer.
Yep.
But I love the fact that there was some flour that was tossed around in the room before the babysitter gets killed, and there's little good guy shoe prints in it.
Yep.
And of course, what's Andy wearing? He's wearing the good guy shoes. And
Right.
then later he realizes when he's got Chucky sitting on a chair that, oh, wait a minute, Chucky, you've got
flour on your feet.
Right. But I do like how they start talking more with the police officer, where the mom is like, man, you're just a crazy person. You're trying to say your son is innocent of all these things, because the very next sequence is Chucky and Andy are going to school, getting dropped off by the mother, and then Andy and Chucky sneak away, get on this big long train ride into the depths of burned out Chicago.
Yeah, Southside Chicago,
Right.
in its worst.
Right.
Yeah, there's just people hanging around, open fires everywhere. Yeah, there was a part where there's this like a big alley, and there was just like a bonfire right there. It's
Yeah, I know.
like, what? This is a city, right?
No, it's a slum area, because Chucky is trying to track down that accomplice of his.
Right, and he does track him down.
Blows up the
blows
entire
him up.
building. And then the next scene is, okay, the cops got Andy and Chucky in the jail, and Andy's like, or the cop is like, yeah, your kids may be killing
your kid's a
people.
sociopath, yeah.
And then the mom is like, no, it's Chucky, and all this.
Of course they're not
crazy
going to
stuff.
believe her because it's a doll, right? It's
Well, and my favorite is when she does start looking closely at Chucky, and then the batteries fall out of the box, and she's like, oh my God, that's the big dramatic
It's the
scene
reveal,
where, oh my
yeah.
God, how could he be talking? Because there's no batteries.
because the way that Chucky's the doll, the good guy doll, has been designed is that it does talk. You know, some dolls like they're designed to talk. Like you
got
touch them
right.
in a certain area, and it'll say pre-programmed phrases. So that this doll does that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got like three lines of dialogue it
Yeah.
can say, but oh my God, there's no batteries in it. And I immediately was reminded when I watched it again, because I had not seen Child's Play for, oh my gosh, 2 decades maybe.
Yeah, well, this is the first time for me. I've
But
never seen somebody.
It reminded me of that Simpsons episode, one of the Treehouse of Horrors, where it was the evil Krusty doll. Do you remember that? And then the service repairman guy finally like turns him over and is like, "Oh well, you've got this one set to evil."
Evil setting.
Right.
Love
So
it.
they turned it to good setting, and then he was fine. But I love that, because then she's basically screaming at this doll, you need to talk, or I'm going to throw you in this fireplace and all this. And that's the first big moment of, okay, Chucky's for real. And that was
Well,
kind
then
of,
Chucky talks because he doesn't want to get thrown in the fireplace.
but he erupts into a massive
Oh
obscenities.
yeah, he
and,
just like he's full on alive.
and I also love, though, how he somehow has the ability to overpower people sometimes.
The little Chucky doll has great strength.
Yes.
Yeah, because when the detective, it's just really funny, but the detective first realizes that Chucky is a sentient being, I guess, is that Chucky appears while he's driving his
Right.
police car, but of course Chucky's in the back seat, and he causes him to crash, but then is trying to stab the detective through the seat, and you can see of course he gets this big butcher knife. Where he gets the butcher knife, who knows? But then he's trying to stab the detective through the seat, and then he tries to stab the detective from under the seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really
Well, and just
really
the
pretty
whole
funny.
fact that he could have that cord around the detective's neck, and the detective is powerless, and the only way for him to get Chucky off him is to burn him.
And
with
somehow
a lighter.
Chucky fixed the car so that the brakes wouldn't work. So somehow Chucky knows.
He removed the brake pedal itself. It was just a big piece of metal sitting there.
Yeah, it would still work, but so the detective was pressing that, but it wasn't working. So he must have fixed the car so the brakes wouldn't work. So Chucky knows about mechanical things.
Yeah.
But I guess it's all prior knowledge that from the serial killer goes into Chucky. So maybe the serial killer, yeah.
Maybe he had this
Worm tongue
knowledge,
is-
this great
yeah.
knowledge, yeah. But it sets up finally where the police officer then is like, "Yep, okay, I believe you." And this doll
Yeah, well,
is
the doll
real.
tried to stab me. It caused my car to just wreck.
And so they deduce that Charles Lee Ray was friends with this voodoo shaman guy.
So they go there.
and so they have to go track that guy down. But of course, that's not like a big long journey by any means, because
And
the
one
very
of the
next scene,
funniest scenes in the whole movie is like Chucky gets the shaman guy because he pulls out the shaman's voodoo doll and he starts stabbing it.
while he's twisting his
Oh
leg,
yeah, he twists it. He
his
breaks
leg.
his leg, and then he breaks his arm because he breaks it on the doll.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then finally to get rid of him, stabs it.
Well, and I just love the fact that Chucky's sitting there. You shouldn't have told me where your doll was. It's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't if you've got this really major power where you can create a. When why would
Yeah.
you create a doll of yourself anyway? But
Yeah, that some guy could come along and use against
Right.
you. Yeah,
But through this, I mean, the whole reason Chucky has this interaction with the voodoo guy is because Chris Sarandon shot him when the car was
the
upside down.
detective.
Yeah.
yeah.
And Chucky was suddenly surprised by the fact that, wow, that hurt, and I'm also bleeding now.
Right. And the shaman tells him the more that you're alive in that doll, the more that you'll become human.
Right. The more
Yeah.
it'll be human, and that leads us to basically the premise for the next couple Child's Play movies, which is the only way for you to reverse this process or save yourself, basically, is to transfer your soul into the first person you revealed your true identity to, which happened to be the little 6-year-old boy.
Right. Rainey tries to do that, but he's ultimately foiled.
Well, and
But leads the foundations for a possible sequel.
Well, you've got 3 movies where that exact same thing happens in all 3 of them, where I've almost got it and then I get interrupted, and I've almost got it, get interrupted. So, but that kind of leads you through the climax, which is about 15 minutes of just mayhem.
Yeah, they're just running through their apartment, which is the woman's, who is Catherine Hicks, which is the main character in the Star Trek Coming Home movie.
Star Trek 4.
Yeah, which
But-
was like, if I'm a big Trekkie, so it's like, whoa, that's cool.
Well, it is cool, but do you know what's cooler? Is
What's cool? No, that's pretty cool that she was in Star Trek.
She
4.
was also in Death Valley, this nasty little slasher movie from 1982. That was her first movie, actually. So,
and you saw that.
of course, she also has.
Of course.
She also.
What's wrong with me?
Well, because it has Peter Billingsley in it, who was the little kid from Christmas Story. So he's getting
way.
he's getting tormented by this maniac.
Maybe we'll do that one next week.
But
If
so
we could find it.
So she's got these, all the characters in this movie basically have ties to horror films, and they've all kind of gathered for this Child's Play movie, basically. So, but yeah, the ending of this movie is just kind of off the rails. I love it.
Great.
And I don't
know if we even just talk about it.
Well,
It's
I
so
just
good.
love the fact that Chucky can overpower people. I just love that fact where I can pick up this bat, I can totally smash you with it. I can have you on the ground and I'm like trying to stab you. It's just hilarious. But then, I can also be thrown across the room pretty easily, and I just like all that stuff.
Because it's little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's
Well,
little.
even if you're strong, I guess somebody surprises you and throws you, you're still gonna fly. You're just flying strong.
And they do a lot of really cool effects to bring the Chucky doll to life. Obviously, there's animatronic stuff, but they also had small people in a costume with enlarged sets, like when he jumps up onto the bed and things like that. So they really were being inventive on how
That's
to
pretty
bring
cool.
this to life. Because a lot of the doll movies out there...
Well, that goes back to Lord of the Rings. They use enlarged sets, of course. Yeah.
But that's really one of the things with doll movies is I need to see the doll doing stuff, and when I can see that, I'm probably going to like your movies. Things like Puppet Master and Dolls. When you don't have your doll doing much, like Annabelle, it's harder for me to like your movie. So bring them to life. Show me on the screen these crazy
If they
things.
want to be scary, they've got to be doing stuff.
Yeah. Well, did you ever see Trilogy of Terror, the third sequence of that with the Zuni doll? Karen Black's in it.
No,
Gina-
what are you talking
Okay,
about? Have you seen it?
It was 3. It was a little anthology film with Karen Black was the star of each one of the stories. No one really remembers the first 2 stories. Everyone remembers the last one.
Nobody remembers any of these movies, Roger.
Oh,
Except for you, because you're a horror movie guy.
Look up Karen Black Zuni doll.
And just FYI, where the rest of us are watching just regular movies back in the 80s, 90s, 20s, 2000s. Roger's watching pure horror.
Well, Trilogy of Terror was 70s.
70s, throw that in there.
But anyway, we have this massive amount of chaos, and of course, as would happen in all of the sequels, you can't just do one thing to kill Chucky or stop him. You've got to do multiple things. So the
deal is
light
there's
him on
got to
fire.
be, you got to take his heart out.
Mm.
So detectives and the police, they have their guns, so they're shooting Chucky, and one of the guys decapitates Chucky. And it's shooting.
Well,
Well,
but
the
see,
woman, the woman's
that's
shooting
right.
Chucky, and she shoots his leg off, and she gets kind of sadistic. And then she shoots his arm off, and then she shoots his head off.
But that's after they've burned him in the fireplace.
Yeah. He eventually does get in the fireplace. She burns him in the fireplace.
And then she's shooting him apart.
And all you see is his little one leg, one arm, burned torso. But that even that part is still alive.
Right. So you've got a little zombie action going on here. But
they shoot it in the heart, and so there's blood. Yeah.
yeah, so it's I don't know what more there is to say about Child's Play. If for some bizarre reason you have not seen this film, you definitely should. And I think Gene is right in that it is a pretty easy entry into kind of horror. It is R-rated, but it's not so over the top gory, or there's no nudity of any kind or anything like that. It's really got an R rating, maybe just because of a few sequences of violence, and then Chucky does not hesitate on swearing. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he has a sewer mouth for sure. He swears like a sailor. Yeah. And then there's blood. The voodoo doll's getting stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, but it's not Dead Alive levels of gratuitous violence by any
No, it's not
means.
like a Saw movie or something. But yeah.
But yeah,
And it's not psychological terror like stop motion or
no, it is a real
or
straightforward.
like Martyrs.
Right, it's a real straightforward. This is our little horror movie. It's a doll running around killing people, and that's pretty
Yeah,
much
and again,
what it is.
it's very much skirting the line of horror comedy. And definitely at parts they just go full on horror comedy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, and I think that was
so he goes back and forth between the two.
and that was kind of the whole vibe of this of the series. Really, it really hit its pinnacle with the blending of horror and comedy in, of course, Bride of Chucky. And now there's I think it's the Curse of Chucky and the Cult of Chucky, which have gone the other way now, more trying to be more horror than comedy. But
Yeah, I don't know if that works because, it's once you set it up, it's kind of horror comedy. You're kind of stuck with that.
Yeah, I mean, and really, the Child's Play, of course, is a great film. Child's Play 2 is okay. Child's Play 3, I just hate that movie. I've only seen it one time, though, so maybe I should watch it again now.
Don't.
I'm much more mature.
Let's just go to
adult.
Bride of Chucky.
And then Bride of Chucky, which is great. Seed of Chucky, I don't like very much. And then the funny thing is Cult of Chucky and Curse of Chucky. I think it's reversed. Curse of Chucky and then Cult of Chucky. I watched both of those.
Yeah.
And I don't think I liked them because I can barely remember anything that was happening in those two movies.
Yeah, Yeah. I've done that. You watch movies and then you really can't remember them, even like as you're walking to your car.
I know.
It's like, what did I?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it just like goes right
I
through
think
you.
Curse maybe it's Cult, where they bring the Andy character back for those two movies because he's not in Bride of Chucky and he's not in Seed of Chucky, but then he's back for the others. And I think there's a scene where he's like got the head of Chucky and he's like torturing it with like electric shocks, and I don't remember. I don't know. But to me, it would be Child's Play, and then Bride of Chucky.
Bride of Chucky, and then you're done with it. Yeah, you're done. Yeah.
I mean, two is fine.
You don't need to watch. Yeah.
Gene, anything more to say about?
I
Play?
think we've covered it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
definitely a good.
definitely
one.
good. It's just fun. It's just fun. It's kind of like Zombie Land. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah. I could see that, and it's definitely one of the better killer doll movies. There's of course a lot of them. And for me, as long as your doll is actually doing stuff on screen and creating mayhem, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, Chucky's creating a lot of mayhem here.
So, Gene, what do you want to do next week?
I don't know, though. Nicolas Cage is in a horror movie. I think it's in theaters now, or just got out of theaters.
Like Acadian? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe that. But you just mentioned, what was it? Just
Sentinel.
Not Sentinel, the other one.
Funhouse.
Funhouse.
Oh, if you want to do Funhouse, I'm totally down with Funhouse. Funhouse is Tobe Hooper, so this would be our third Tobe Hooper movie. I love the Funhouse.
Tobe Hooper. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Correct.
And which one?
Well, dare I say, Life Force.
I think I skipped that one.
You did. That was Taika.
Yeah, that was you and Tyken, because I have to draw the line somewhere.
You drew the line at Matilda May is naked throughout the entire film. It's like, no, I ain't watching that.
I'm not watching that thing.
But the Funhouse was, I think it was 1982, so it was right before Tobe Hooper did Poltergeist. And so you had Chainsaw Massacre and you had Eaten Alive, and then he did the Funhouse, which to me captures some of the intensity of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's a different kind of film, and I really like it. So I'm down to do Funhouse if you're up for it.
Yeah, we could do Funhouse, but even Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think, Roger, I don't know if I put it to the level of canon that you do. There are certainly some horror comedic elements even in that movie for sure.
Oh, you are absolutely right.
Yeah,
One of the great black comedy moments of Texas Chainsaw Massacre is when Sally is running, the whole big chase scene there. She runs to the house, and they have the shot of here's the house and then here's the little white picket fence, which of course is all decayed. She opens the little door, runs into the house, and then Leatherface comes along and does that Charlie Chaplin turn because he's gone too far beyond the thing. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then also the look what your brother did to the door statement from
and just other things like this chase scene where they're going through these brambles, and it just seems to go on forever, and it's just
beautiful.
like, what are you doing? It's not increasing tension.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
But anyway,
let's not diverge too much. Yeah,
we're not going to start another Texas Chainsaw Massacres podcast. But so we'll do Funhouse next week.
Yeah, Funhouse.
All
and
right.
then maybe do that Nicolas Cage movie later.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out too, maybe. So, okay, thanks for tuning in. Check out Child's Play. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.